Hi everyone. Today I'm going to show how to create dashboard in the Sumologic and step-by-step guidance for creating query in Sumologic logs. By end of this tutorial, we're gonna try creating a dashboard something like this, and you will end of the tutorial. Just of course you will get how to good understanding how to create a query, a log, and different method, different mechanism, the inbuilt function which the Sumologic provide to get nice dashboard for your application. Let's jump in. All right. First of all, I thanks everyone who watching my channel, and if you like my channel, my content video, please like and subscribe. Right, let's get into the dashboard. First of all, I like to walk through the each kind of widget in this dashboard, and this is something then it's give some idea or understanding what we gonna achieve with this tutorial. Like if you see this dashboard, the very first panel, well, we can call it panel or widget, we can call it anything as you like. So the first widget you can see is a number of requests per city by date. So what does actually show? Basically, you can see we do have an endpoint which returning city, and this widget it show okay particular endpoint how many time it's returned with the particular city, like say for each date. So it's grouped by particular date. Let's walk through the one example. Like if it's look at this 7th of May, you can see if you hover into this particular blocks, you can see Sydney say number 6. That means this endpoint return a 6 occurrence with the Sydney. So if I go to this one, Melbourne is a 2 occurrences, and 5 and Brisbane and so on. So if I show you the actual, I'll show you the actual endpoint, what does it do, and you can get a better idea. But the overall idea is we can get a number of cities and how many occurrences per particular city on a particular date. Same thing, so it's a little bit different, but it's still a particular the same endpoint. But what does this one check? It's an average response time. So if we go here, for example, this one city, it says average response time for a particular endpoint with the particular result. Result is Sydney. It says 7.14. It's a second. So other one it says Melbourne is 6, and it's grouped by particular date. It's a very nice way to track down the response time. If you have an API, you need to track down the response time over the particular period, and this is the best way you can create a dashboard and you can have a look. The other one, a very interesting one, the last one, which says all the any error in the in our API the system, and which shows okay how many occurrences from the particular error. Like if you see if I click on the particular in right side, you can see it's a unhandled exception. It starts with the May 7th, and let's say this one it's occurring from the May, and there are about 30 occurrences in the May 1st of May, and the 7th of May it's a 13 occurrences. Like this is kind of the dashboard we're gonna end up with this tutorial. I'll show you how to create a query, how to create a dashboard, and many more. Right. The very first thing, next thing what we need to do, we need to create a free trial account in the Sumologic. It's Sumologic give a 30-day free trial, and you can play around with until 30 days. So it's pretty handy. It's come with the most of the features, and you can try out with the Sumologic. Let's get into the how to create the free account. Yes, pretty is straight. If you go to sumologic.com and you start free trial, and put your Gmail whatever account email, and sign up. It's pretty straight, pretty trivial. Once you create the account, you don't need to give any credit card. Just the email is enough. So once you create the account, so you can log into the system, and basically hopefully it should show something like this. And in my case, I do have a dashboard, previous dashboard, that's why it's shown here. Otherwise probably you don't have any dashboard over here. The first thing you need to do, go to this, click on this hamburger menu. What we're gonna do, we create a collection endpoint. So the collection endpoint, what is it? Collection endpoint is basically it's expose some endpoint and it's give us some endpoint we can ingest our logs. Let's say you have a Java application .NET or Node.js, you can use that HTTP URL to push your logs. So how do we create a collection? Like, let's go to here and click on this setup stop, and you need to select the first option, which is integrate with the Sumologic. And Sumologic come with lots of integrations connector, like you can push into this Amazon, Apache, so it's various data source. In our case, what we're going to do, we create a custom map, and once you click the custom map, you can select different ways to push your logs, and in our case we are using HTTPS source. Select source and you can give it a name. So you can give any type of it's totally depend on you, but it's more like we can give like, let's say we are testing in the dev environment. This is a collection endpoint for dev. Let's say my test application, right? Right. So once you create, keep the default settings as a need, and let's select. Once you click next, what you're going to do, it's creating a HTTP endpoint for you, and end up with the kind of it's give a token endpoint. So it's not a, sorry, it's not a token endpoint, it's an endpoint. It's come with a token. You don't need to do an authorization or any authentication mechanism. As far as you have this URL, you can push your log file into this URL. So once it's done, you can copy, or otherwise we can access later. You don't need to copy. Next, and we can click finish. Then if you go to here, give a nice refresh, and here we go. We got our endpoint, collection endpoint. So you can regenerate URL, and you can check the URL again. So and you don't need to remind the URL. Right, that's the first part you need to do. You create a collection endpoint in Sumologic, and we are ready to push our log into this endpoint. Main idea of this tutorial is learning how to create query, how to do some using Sumologic function to create a dashboard and query in the log file. So for example, in over here we are using some count, so using some method of the transpose, some function which is given by Sumologic. And for example, if you go to this query, it says some group by function, so an average. So this kind of, there are different function we need to try. So therefore we need to create some different data. So therefore what I did, I created a .NET Core application which create some different it's expose some endpoint, and each endpoint give a different sort of information. So that information we will do use in the Sumologic and query and create a dashboard. So I'll quickly go through the what are the endpoints in my .NET Core application. And as you can, this is a pretty standard .NET Core application. What we need to do, the first thing is we need to get the package, the Sumologic package, which is sumologic.login.sp.NET Core. And once you install this package, and then you go to the startup, and in the startup, what we're gonna do, we need to add Sumologic collector as a middle layer. And so then what's going to do, whatever the logs we add, it's going to push to our endpoint. So you are wondering, what is this URL? Okay, yes, this URL is coming from in Sumologic. If I go to the collection in the Sumologic, and this is my collection endpoint, if I show you URL, so this is a URL I use, I copy. For example, if I go to this, end up with a W and double equal, and if I go very beginning, let's go, it's a collection.sumology. This is a URL I copy, and come back to my .NET Core application and paste out here. Right. So as far as you do this URL, and all the logs will be pushed to Sumologic endpoint, the collection endpoint we can query. Right. That's the only thing we need to do in a .NET Core application. We need to first thing is we need to get the package, and we need to add this in the startup. We need to add this. We need to configure our log into a particular URL what we set on the Sumologic. And as you can see, this configure method, you need to add the ilogger factory object, and in the logger.factory, top of the logger for factory, you need to add a new logger option. Right. So that's the package we need to do in the .NET Core application. And if I go to my controller, I create a sample controller. It's pretty much like replacing the weather controller you get in the skeleton when you create the .NET Core application. Right. So if we go here, the first endpoint, if I show you the first endpoint, it's just a get endpoint. It's send in the weather forecast some object. It's a randomly sending some weather forecast information. And the second one, it's basically, what does it do? It's a country endpoint. And what does it do? It's returning the country name. That's all. What does it do? But inside, what I do, I want to simulate some random delay. What I use some stopwatch and thread of sleep. I want to keep it some delay. I need to simulate this is a HTTP request. It's get a different response time. And so then what we do, we log this information. It says country endpoint took this much of a millisecond to process. Basically, as I should say, it's a simulate the actual scenario, and which takes some seconds to process. That's a country. So if I go to the city, so basically it's again city is returning. Of course, it's a returning. We have a couple of cities in Australia, of course, and based on the random number, it's get the random city. It's picking the random city and returning. So that's what does it do? All does. It's basically plus. It's logging the city endpoint return whatever the random city is picking based on the random number. That's a city. And another endpoint, I want to see some city with the delay, because I want to do different kind of query in the Sumologic. And this endpoint is basically still sending the delay. That's pretty much same as earlier, but this one has a delay. So this one doesn't have a delay, but this one has a delay based on the random number. And of course, it's a log information says, okay, random delay city endpoint returns random city took this much of time. And the very end, this is the last endpoint. It's the last endpoint is basically creating random error, and I want to simulate some error and aggregate some error and group some error. So if you say the random number, it says I'm creating the random number. Whoever called this endpoint, get the random number. If it is a 1, what's going to do? I'm throwing some new exception with the custom exception with the new GUID. Like I'll show you why we created GUID. It's basically, as I mentioned, I need to do some regex to ignore this kind of GUID, and I need to use some inbuilt function in the Sumologic to manipulate some error message, replacing some message substring sort of the function available in the Sumologic. And the second one is like it's a case number is 2. It's creating some null revealer exception. You can see I'm creating the person object. You can see it's a person object has an address. What does it do? It's basically I want to create a error exception. It's a null reference exception. That's why I create ob, and on there I'm accessing the address, which is throw error with a null reference exception. And the third one again is what does it do? It's need create a different error. Basically, you can see it's a list person has a 2 object, but this link query I'm expecting single or default. Basically, this is it's a different error. I'll show you what is it. Says something like a sequence is has more than one instance or something, like, because I want to create some different error, and I want to show which create logs, and we can use some different mechanism to filter out, find out errors, sort of statistics. And very lastly, whenever it says case is 9, I'm throwing some not implemented error, and that's all. And of course, if something goes wrong, it's throw leg error exception with the different thing, right? That's pretty much the endpoint. So if I show you the endpoint, I'll run this application. Let's run .NET build, enter. Yes, build is success. Now we run .NET run. Right, as you can see, once you execute the command .NET run, it's run the application with different ports. Let's go to 5001 localhost. If I go to localhost 5000, remember there's some delay, that's why it's taking time. And same time, if I run the city, it's returning a random city. This one country is coming as Australia. If I do again, it's come to delay, and this is the city. You can see it's changing, randomly changing the city. So if I go to the city with delay, of course this one has a return in the city, but with a bit of delay, random delay. Like if you can see, it's a Canberra return with just after some time. And this time it should return a different city. Let's have a look. Called city. Like the last one, it's a random error. So you can see basically with this one creating a random error. I'll show you the VS Code logs. As you can see, sometimes these are the information it's logging in the console. Country endpoint, which took this much of second to process, and this is the error. For example, you can see sometimes written not implemented error, sometimes it's a sequence contains more than one element. So this is how we generate some random error over here. Right, now let's go to Sumologic. Right, now I'm in a Sumologic portal. So what I'm gonna do, I'm checking the logs what we post through the .NET Core application. So what we need to do, we need to go new and click on the new tab and log search. So once you do, we need to set up, because the Sumologic could have multiple collection point. If we do the search, it's log everything. It's a vesting. So what we're gonna do, we set our source category. This is a keyword in Sumologic. What say we need to set up this source category. Source category is in our case is a dev/test-app. So how do we get this value? It's in our collection. So if you go to the collection, we says okay, we set the source category this. That's where we gonna do the search. Let me click on the search. Right, so once you click on the search on the last 15 minutes, you can see all the logs is available in this second panel. As you can see, so for example, if I go here, says now listen, this is a listen to log the particular port, that's fine. And let's see our custom information. Let's say this one. Let's say the city endpoint returned Brisbane's country endpoint took this much of time, and what we can see, okay, for example, this one delay city endpoint returns Canberra took this much of time. So we got the information, and plus you can see there are kind of errors, and some of the errors not implemented error, and some are object not reference not set, and some are in the my custom error. Basically you can see it's a custom error, and with some different GUID. So yes, we do have a logs now. Then let's writing one query. The first query we're gonna write, let's say for example this one, the first panel, let's say number of requests for city by date. Let's say the endpoint we're gonna use the city endpoint. So as you can see, this city endpoint randomly returning city, and so we need to get the, okay, how many occurrences this endpoint return with the particular city. Let's say Melbourne, how many occurrences with the Melbourne, and the Canberra and the Sydney, or whatever city in here, right? Let's try to create query. The first thing what we need to do, we need to go, we open a Sumologic search query, and we will filter out uh, the message, which is message, you can see if we go to here, I'll get check the message. Message is something like city endpoint returns. So we filter out that information first. If we go to here, and let's say city endpoint returns. So if I do search, what's going to happen, it's okay, currently we don't have any 50 minutes. Let's do for 3 days, and right, you can see there are so many logs come with like almost like a 6 pages, 139 result. Basically because I play around with a couple of days to, I want to show this kind of dashboard for different dates. That's why I keep creating some logs for different dates. As you can see, it's creating delay city, or this is a different one because this is a come with the delay, but what we after, only this one, city endpoint returns Canberra. This kind of log I'm more interested with this one, not the delay one in this case, because delay is a different different endpoint. Right, so what we're going to do, okay, we got this one. Then what we need to do, we need to we call like a time slice, we call it in the Sumologic provide some function. It says time slice. Time slice, what does a time slice does, it it's grouped the data, it's a group the data, right? I'll go through the once I write the query, and then I'll go through the step by step. Then what we need to do, we need to do something like we need to get some date. All right, so basically we are, this is come with the like the date and time. What we are actually expecting, it's a date. So what we can do some format, because we need to get there. This is a Sumologic function. It's a format date, and the again Sumologic, this one basically you can see this the column is called, if I copy this, it's a message time, same thing as they have a receive time. We can do the message time, for example in this case, okay, this is because the message time. And then what we need to do, we need to do some formatting. So we can say I want to format something like this mmdd as date. We said okay, we will format this time, date and time, as this kind of design format, and assign the parameter, assign this value as a date. Then what we need to do, we need to do some passing. So as you can see, we need to grab the in this case we need to grab this city. So how do we grab this, extract this value? What we can do, we can use some regex. So what we're going to do here, we call, say in the Sumologic we have a parser, it says we call parser, and we can say some regex. We write the regex on field. We say we need to field which field we need to select. In this case it's a row. You can say, if you copy, if you go to here, and if I you can see little icon, it says copy, you can get the actual the column name, actual column name, right? So what's it going to say, okay, we are doing field. If I eld field on this, and then we write the regex. So in the regex what we can tell, okay, anything match with the city endpoint, something like this returns, and then what we say, we say it's a pretty much like a regular regex. You need to create a the group. If it's something matching with this, we need to say this, and we give a like a variable, it doesn't matter. So then what we say, any word after this, right? And let's have a look. We will give a shot what's going to happen if we click on that. Cool. So as you can see, now it's populating another two column, which is the date. You can see this is the date, new one, and another column city. So what the Sumologic does, it's pass this particular log, this message, the whole message, and it's extract the city, which is it's running on this regex, and it's extract the particular word based on the whatever the regex we read. So with this regex says, okay, it's anything is start with this, and it's come with the whatever the word after this, it's considered as it's substituted to this city variable. That's how you can see it. So we get the Sydney, and we say get the Canberra and the Brisbane, like so on, right? You can see it's given lots of it's extract the actual the city, right? Then what we need to do, we say we need to get the count, basically say, okay, how many occurrences for particular how many occurrences with the for the responses with the particular city. So what we call, we say count, and we say, okay, we need to count by city and date. So if I try now, yeah, still it's running application, and it gives some aggregate value. As you can see, it's a city, it's a Canberra. On this date we got 10 counts. Like now it's given like a, other than message tab, you can give some aggregate. Look, once you get to some aggregate, you can create some dashboard, right? You can add to the dashboard. So for example, if I do cancel this, and if I run over here, you will see there's no aggregate tab. So aggregate value, as far as you don't have an aggregate tab, you can't create dashboard. So you want to come with some aggregate value, like what we do, we do this. Then okay, of course we get some value, and you can convert this into nice diagram. As you can see, date this 5757, Canberra is this much, city is this much, and you can see 6th of May you get a couple of, or like almost all cities, and it's give a couple of how many response, how many count, how many occurrences with the particular response. But what we really need is something like this. So what we need to aggregate, we need to group by the date. So if you're looking at this data, it doesn't group by date. What we need to do, we need to use kind of, it's called like a, this again, it's come with a transpose, sorry, it's a transpose, and we say it's a row, transpose row and date. We are aggregate with the date, and the column say city, right? If I run now, what's going to happen? Cool, yes, you can get the one date and the second date, and you get the kind of aggregate value for each one. Like if you increase this date for, let's say, 7 days, if you run this, you can see it's nicely, it's grouping by the each date, 26, and it shows the each occurrences, right? Now what we can do, we can add this dashboard into say we create new dashboard. We can create new dashboard in the personal, let's say dashboard name is demo Sumologic, and we can say this one, say okay, whatever, got the city response count by date, and you can add it. So once you add, okay, we got the new data, and new dashboard, and you can change it to 14 days. Once it's done, you can see, look, you get the nice dashboard, and in the left side you will get whatever the city, and in the top side you can get the how many occurrences. So what you can do, if you go to edit, you can customize this dashboard. If you go to edit, and let's say this is a kind of, it doesn't say what the y-axis, it doesn't say what the actual virtual actor representing. What you can do, if you go to the axis, and you can tell this one is a response, it's a count, right? Basically it's a count, and then you can tell, you can update the dashboard. Once you update, as you can see, it's nicely shows. And the best thing is, if you want to see Sydney, if you click on the Sydney, you can see only the Sydney, does show only Sydney, and you can see the trend, if there any trend, if there any abnormality on the trends, you can see. And if I do, you can see all the measurement. So that's the first part. Like we can do lots of customization on top of this dashboard. For example, if you want to do the different way of visualization, let's say default type is display type is default. If you go to the stack one, let's say stack, you can see it's a stack on top of the each type. If it's a percentage, you can see it's show as a percentage. For example, this one, Sydney is 26%, and Melbourne is 6% for particular date. It's a nicely, usually I do the default one. Basically we can see the trend easily if you come to the dashboard, right? That's pretty much the first dashboard. And now let's move to the second dashboard. Right, the second dashboard, what we're going to do, we need to kind of get the response time, because each HTTP request maybe get different delays, different time. So over here, let's say we create another panel which shows the response time. The very first one we show as a number of occurrences. This one is average response time. Let's see how do we get the average response time. So the endpoint what we're going to use for simulate that scenario, the city with delay, what's going to happen, you can see when you hit this endpoint, it's come with some delay, and it's return a random city. So this is the logs, it's come under this endpoint. Let's copy that and go back to our Sumologic one. Let's copy this, and we will see how many records is there. As you can see, look, we got the log file. Now we need to create some logic to grab the Sydney, the particular city, and grab this value. As the last time what we did, we got the particular city, but in here what we're gonna, how to extract this whatever the value, which is response time in millisecond. Let's say what we can do. Okay, how do we do that? So as you mentioned, let's do the format as mentioned earlier. Format date, because we need to get the format date, and we give a receive time or whatever, we can get the message time, copy over here, and we give a date, and let's say this is YYY MMDD, whichever date format you can use, of course. Then what we need to do, we need to write a regex. So as you say, we need to pass, and we say regex, and the field we need to use which field we are on top of which field we are writing the regex. Okay, we are writing on this one, copy and paste, so it's underscore row. And what we can do, we need to write the actual regex. So as you went, I'll copy the regex, and then we can walk through. Copy here, right? So this is the regex for we need to write to grab the city and grab the time taken in millisecond. So as you can say, it's any logs which match the delay city endpoint return uh, between whatever the returns and took the particular string, I consider that as a city, and then after took the wording, I'm getting the value. So basically this is a word, we can write the actually matching the numbers, but this case is, even though it's a word, it's work fine. So if I run this, you can see how does it look like, the query and the result. As you can see, we get the Sydney particular a city, and we get the time. As far as we got the time and this all the information, yes, we can do very easily. We can do some it's like a programming. So what we can do, this is come with the actual millisecond. We need to, let's say we divide into seconds, as what we can say time taken. We can assign to variable. Basically what we're going to do, because this is a millisecond, we are considering into seconds. And then what we need to do, we need to get the this number average, basically average a response time for Sydney. For example, if we get in this case Canberra, like basically what we need to do, if let's say there are 3 records in with the Canberra, what we need to do, we need to sum up this value and divide by 3 to get the average. So what we can do, so we said Sumologic power comes with the average function. What we do, say time, we are get the time taken as average value, maybe it's a average value, and we can group. Then we need to say group, because we are grouping by city and date. And the let's see how does it look like. The as you can see, this one, if you go to here, this is a table view, this is any graphical view. So if you go to the table view, as far as you have an aggregate value, it's come with another tab. As you mentioned, we can add it to the dashboard. So you can see now we got some data. It's a Melbourne for this date, we get the average value is this, and Canberra this, and it's the values for each date. You can see for the same day, let's see Sydney, this one Melbourne, it's scattered the date throughout the different places. What we need to do, we need to do the same kind of thing. We use some transform function which say transform on date, and we consider as a city as a column. Like if you run this, we get like a very fine-tuned and it's aggregate with a particular date. As you can see, this is the table view. You can see it's a date. Brisbane is this much, Canberra no any response on particular date, and Melbourne and so on. Like you can see there are some figures. Right now what we need to do, we can do some graphical phase. Then what we do, we will add this value into our dashboard demos. Right? Then we say response time by city. Let's say city, and you can add this dashboard. Look, here we go. We'll do some, give us some more date. Let's say change it to 7 days. Cool. Like you can get some response time. What we can do, we can update this axis. Let's say if we go to here again, go to axis and go to y-axis and get the label. This is a average response time. Basically it's a average response time in second. Let's say seconds. Right. And you can save it and update. Right. So here that's how as you can see per particular date, each city get a different response time. And as you can see, you can change the different type, let's say different colors, if you as you like. If you like the colors, you can change different colors. And yeah, that's pretty much from the second one. If I go to query again, as you say, if you go to edit, and you can do lots of as far as you want. You have a regex, you can write the regex, you can grab and extract the value from the log file, and you can do some grouping and some aggregate function on top of that. And the Sumologic comes with some lots of very good documentation on writing how to write a query. And yeah, that's everything is in Sumologic. You can play around. And lastly, let's get the last one, what we're going to write, the error one. So let's say in here, if you see what we're gonna achieve, we need to group by the error. So let's say system error, this custom error, we need to check how many times this custom error, this particular error occur throughout the last 7 days, in this case 7 days. Like as you can see, the 1st of May it's a 30 and no any error after that, and it's start popping up again. This is pretty interesting. Let's go with creating this query, and after that we end up the tutorial. Right, the last query we're gonna write on this endpoint. So it's not necessarily be this endpoint. So you can write a generic query to grab any error message in your system. But here I've just demonstrated through this endpoint. As I show you earlier, like this endpoint, it's randomly throw error. It could be some my custom error message, and some in this case it's returning some sequence not contain kind of error, and this one's throw a null reference exception, and over here it shows a not implemented error. Like these are the kind of errors it's throwing. Let's see how do we get some insight, how do we do some query and show in visually in a Sumologic dashboard. Right, so as a guy, I got the search query, same source category, and what I did, I add the end condition. Basically it says okay, any log message which come with the error occurred, because I use error occurred because all the error messages it's logged with the error message, because we need to find some pattern, right? So then if I search, you can see lots of error come with the different format. As you can see, it's an error message. First error message is a not implemented error, and it's a say NORA exception system, and this is the same error, and this is a null reference exception. You can see exception system null reference object not reference, and this is a custom error. As you can see, this is a custom error, and this is object, so on. Like basically what we need to group this error message, and we need to find the show the number of count for each message for each date, right. Let's write the query. So as you say, we need to do some format. I'll don't go to do again. So basically I just copy and paste, and we need to get the date format, because this times date and times come with the time. We need to more interest with the date. If you're interested with the data for the each hours, yes, still you can do formatting as you needed. So the second one we need to do, what we gonna do, we do grab the another parser. We can create a multiple parser. So this parser, what's going to do, it's finding a log with the error occurred and exception. As you can see, error occurred, all the most of the errors come with the pretty much everything is come with the exception, error occurred exception, and I'm grabbing the message after that. If I do this, what's going to happen, you see it's get the it's extract the actual error message. So in the message column, you can say not implemented error, object not reference, and you see custom error message, blah blah blah. It's dragging all the error. It's extracting the error. So we are not concerned with the other noises. It's just remove the noises and it get the message. Then what we need to do, we need to do some right, what you're gonna do, we write the next query. Right, so what I did, I got the copy and paste the query. What's in the, as you mentioned, I got the all the exception. Then I dial to the time slice. Time slice again, it's come with the what does it do? It's a keyword. It says each date. It's basically you can do for the time. You don't need to worry about the even for the formatting date in this case. And the message is coming with here, and we do some transpose. If I run this, you can see get some aggregate data, and you can see I'll show you the one of the issue with this. If you do only this, and let's add it to the dashboard, and we will go to this one, error by type. So if I add it here and go to the error message, I'll get some space because which is and let's put 7 days. Right, I'll get to the top of the dashboard, and what it says, data from your query cannot be plot at the panel not selected, please change the plan type. Okay, what does it do? What it says? Cool. What you can see, there are so many, as you can see if you hover, yes, non-implemented get 36 occurrences, and the rest of thing it's got occurrences, and you can see the very little type and my custom error and the same error type, but it's changing the GUID, right? Because as far as its GUID is changed, different GUID, it's considered as a different error message. But actually we don't need that, because we need to get the same error message. Like it's a custom error, doesn't matter what the GUID is. That's the issue. Like you can see, it's a lot of messages, error messages, with because of the GUID. It's doesn't consider as a distinct value. What we need to do, we need to fix this. How do we fix this? Let's go to copy. Oh, sorry, this one. Let's go to edit. I'll copy this query, same query, and then I'll replace it the value. So what we need to do over here, right? How do we overcome this? I copied the another phase. I changed the actually the count into date, not the underscore time slice, because it makes sense for this scenario. So I added another a parser. So as you can see, let me check. I increase my font size, and you can see properly. And I added another replacer. What's gonna do? It's get the message. It's in the first this parser. It's extract the value into message, and then I get that particular message, and I do some replacement on particular message on top of that. How do we do that? As you can see, if I run this, and I'll show you the one of the message. If I go to sequence, let's say the custom one, not implemented, come on, I want to something custom error message. You can see actual message. So this message, it's something like custom error message with some GUID. But over here what I'm doing, I'm replacing any GUID after my custom error message wording. Let's say if I see my custom error message wording and then say any GUID, I just replace with my custom error message. So basically what does it do? It's basically it's getting to the same format. And what's going to happen for at the end of the day, if we get this message, it's end up with the removing particular GUID, and we can get a group for the same consider as one single error message. Like if I do now, as you can see, Yes, we don't have I'll copy this whole content, copy this and go to demo and edit this query and update, right? Let's give it a shot. Okay, now how does it look like? It's nicely formatted, and we got only one custom error message. So as you can see, we got a system exception custom error message, and it doesn't have a many because we remove the GUID and we group them after that. And because most of the system has a lots of error, of course what we can do some layout changes, because rather than over here we can get into the right side. What we can do, we can go to axis and legend showing right. If we say right, it's come to the legends come to right, and we can show as a table, because then we can do some scrolling. And let's say if I update, right, so everything is come here. We come with the scroll bar, it's nice, and yeah, it's pretty good, right? So if I click on that, you can see this error message start today, 7th of May, and some of the error message it's happening here, because this is a not a real data, because that's why you can't see some trend. If it has a real issue in the system, you can see some trend and you can find some issue. Especially, for example, if you go to the response time, you can see if any performance issue over the last 30 days. You can see nicely if there's any performance issue. If they say some releases going today, went today, and it has some performance issue, yes, you will see the performance issue. The graph is going up for particular endpoint. And this is this is error. Let's say this is how it's working. As you can see, if I go a little bit up, as you can see, there's another one with nothing, right? There are all the messages come with some wording, but this one is like a blue color one. It doesn't have any value, as you can see. If I do here, you can see the actual error message. This is something we need to do some edge cases, because we need to handle this kind of scenario. What the issue is, if I go to here, the issue is some of the error message do not have fall into this criteria. They can't find this message. That's why it's come with the null. If I see go here, we can probably find that one. If we go here, let's see this, and what we can do, let's say we can do some replace, and we can do some where clause to find what is the actual error message. Where message equal message not equal sorry, in this case it's equal null. Let's see we can find any what the missing issue, right? You can see we got some. All right, cool. This is the error message which not fall into this category. As you can see, it can't find the error occurred with this exception, that wording. You can find the error order, but you can't find the exception. This kind of thing, yes, you need to handle separately. What we can do, you can create some regex, and which basically handle this scenario. So basically I have a copy. I'll copy this one and I replace, and I'll go through the right. So okay, so we don't need to do this, right? As you say, we do the formatting, and the first bit is just get the message and replace with the GUID. We replace the GUID. This is a regex for the replacing GUID. And then what we do another parser which basically say, okay, you can see this error, it's come with something error, and it doesn't have a this format. What we're going to do, we get the assign to another variable, let's say other variable, other message. And the no drop is okay, I'll explain the no drop. Let's say what is going to happen when we do the parsing. If they can't find this or this pattern, it's not skipping the particular log record. If you remove this, it's skipping the particular record. We lose in the message. So that's why we are using the no drop. And over here what we're going to do, okay, we get in the different kind of pattern, we find in the different kind of pattern in the logs. And after that what we're going to do, we do the if statement. If the replace message, okay, what it's going to do, not replace, okay, this one, replace message is a actual error message come from the message. If it is nothing, then we get the other message, otherwise we get the replacement. It's basically like if it is something is there in the message, it's taking that, and we assign to different name, different variable. And then what we do, this is more like for the, because some of the error message with the very lengthy, I don't need to show lengthy one in the dashboard, but I'm splitting into, let's say, 100, because we don't need to show into a whole error message because it's too chunky. What we're going to do, we check the length is, the error message is more than 100, we just truncate it to 100, and we get the final message as we said. And we say we get the date over here and date. Right. Let's run this, and what we see, let's see what we gonna, as you can, okay, let's copy this everything, go to dashboard, and I'm edit the original one. Right. Let's see what's gonna happen. Cool. Let me check what's why it's still showing. I guess something wrong. Let me check if it is there. Let's try copy this and enter. Let's try now. Okay, it does work, it's nicely working. If I copy again, go to dashboard and update. Why it's not updating? Cool. Let me check again. It's there. Okay, something wrong. It's keep rotating. I give a nice refresh for the whole page. Yeah, my trial version expired 22. Right, cool. Right, so I guess some glitch over there. And as you can see now, we got some more errors, like it says system unheld exception. And this is the one we get newly one after change. And it says, okay, actually it's get unheld exception. Seems like there's another, still there are some logs which not match with our criteria. And we keep looking, and we keep adding the parser. So that's something we can do, of course. But I'm not going to do now. But just to get idea, this is how you need to do the stuff. And one last thing I want to show. Let's say the cool feature in over here. Let's say you want to get the system exempt custom one, and you can click over here. This is says May. 7th of May, and as you can see, if you go here and click the stuff, and let's say you want to see the errors on this bar, click on that bar and click on the error logs. Once you click on the error logs, it goes to the particular date, and you can see it's Sumologic by default add the another where clause which basically match with the date we selected. It's a 6th of May, and the final message match with this one. And you can see the error message only specific to particular date. And of course you can troubleshoot, and you can, if you see this one is a too much column, you can remove this column by over here. And the message you are interested in the final message, we are not date, we know console date we don't need. And let's see we are end up with some small few column, and you can do the troubleshooting. And of course the aggregate is keep remaining, and you can do the different same thing apply for the all the widgets. You can select and click on the logs, and you will see get the it's filtering the log message for particular blocks. Right, hope this is helpful for you guys, and yeah, please let me know how do you feel. If you need any more clarification, more understanding of the query, keep the comment and I'll try to answer this comment. And plus, based on the demand, okay, I'll create a more tutorial on the Sumologic, especially for how to create alert. Basically, let's say let's say we get the my custom error. Let's say we can create an alert. Let's say it's this number is exceeding let's say 15. So we can create an alert. We can integrate with your Slack, your Teams, Microsoft Teams, and you can even send a message email. So that kind of alerting is available in Sumologic. It's a very easy. I'll supposed to create some tutorial on how to create alert and monitoring on the Sumologic in the future. But if you guys have any specific area, I'm happy to create a tutorial on Sumologic. Right, thanks for watching, everyone, and hope this is helpful again. And if you like, keep a like and subscribe my channel, and you will get more tutorial on the Sumologic and various programming challenge or programming domain tutorial. Cool, thanks. Okay, thanks. See you guys until next time.